Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Williams. This is the progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. Remember, you can also send me a tweet to EGBERTOWILLIES. That is, at Egberto Williams. Let us engage. It is politics done right.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Williams, your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you today, folks. You know what? I have been... First of all, let me tell you the great thing, right? We are going to have the debates for you, the Democratic debates on Thursday through our channel. So you just hook up with us at kpft.org on our site. Check out with us at Politics Done Right. We are going to do it for you because you know what? You're going to have our voice as well. But you know what? Before we even get started, Lupita, how are you doing this afternoon, my dear engineer, partner, and all that comes with it? How are you doing today?
I'm doing great.
Well, good. It's great to know that my volume is kind of low here. Let me go ahead and get my earpiece volume up some. All right. So how's it going out there in the engineering room?
Looks like we're doing great.
You're doing
Are
great?
you doing good? Are we doing good?
We are doing great. We are doing great. Folks, don't forget, give us a call at 713-526-5738 when we get done with all this introducing. But also, we want you to go to kpft.org. You know why? Because as this good old station, I mean, we're not in Fund Drive now, but we still need you guys to give us some tips to make sure that we stay alive.
It is coming pretty soon, though.
Well,
beginning
yeah.
October.
It begins in October,
Yes.
right? Yeah, but you don't have to wait till October to say, hey, KPFT, we want to be a part of this real thing. Well, anyhow, we're going to have a good talk today because, as you guys know, the debate is in town on Thursday. The 10 major candidates are going to be here, and we're going to have a time of our life covering that story and making sure you guys are fully aware of what's going on. So let's talk about what title of the show today. Let's talk about what we want out of the Democratic debate in Houston, Texas. Yes, it's in Houston, folks. Those of you that are listening across the country, it's in Houston, but you're going to still be getting it. The Democratic debate at Texas Southern University in Houston, Texas should be substantive now that we have the big three all on one stage. Here is what I want to hear from Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, El Senor, I don't even want to remember his name, but I still have to remember him because he served President Obama just fine. El Senor Biden. You know, look, I like Biden, but Biden time has passed. I am sorry. Biden times has passed. In my humble opinion, I know some of you are going to want to get me for that. Call in 713-526-5738 and tell me why I am all and completely wrong. Anyhow, Medicare for all. I want true supporters of Medicare for All at the Democratic debate to call out the evil of those who know better but will instill fear in people. You know, that's what they're doing, and I'm going to tell you a little story a little bit later. Medicare for All is a hard sell because of how good it really is. I repeat, Medicare for All is a hard sell because of how good it really is. You know, people are starting to say, no, that is too good to be true. I did a post on YouTube and the guy came up and he said, well, you know, in Canada, their bills went up by 11%. Then he said in Great Britain, it went up by 9%. Then I said, well, you know, it may have gone up those percentage for those guys, but take a look at what it costs us. They are still so much under the price of what we pay. People just cannot believe that it is not yet another empty promise. I want a candidate to take command of the stage and ask Americans to remember their high school math, and also remember that most of the rest of the industrial world is more healthy than we are, and their people are not going bankrupt the way we are. I want somebody to do that. I want to see a candidate go out there and say, folks, here is the truth. Here is the truth. For once, I am going to tell you the truth. But, you know, Lupita, before we get there, before I go to the program, I want to remind all our listeners that KPFT is a bastion of intelligent voices and programs. As a political activist myself, my favorites are Think Wing Radio with
Mike Koenig on Mondays at 3 p.m.
And of course, we have Open Journal with
Dwayne Bradley and crew on Mondays at 6 p.m.
But then we also have Jazz Latino, Afro-Cuban Latin Jazz at its very best. And who is that hosted by?
Juan Flores and me, Lupita. It's Tuesdays at 12 noon.
That's the voice, Lupita. And going on, we have Gener Asian Radio, a weekly radio program featuring an eclectic mix of Asian underground, Bagra, Bollywood funk, Hindi, Rai, where ancient sounds meet future beats. And that is?
It's right after this show from 4 to 6 p.m.
So remember, stick around, because you know what? When I'm going back home today, I'll be jamming to Gener Asian Radio. Anyhow, check out our full schedule at kpft.org, where you can find programming from music to politics to medicine to the eclectic. KPFT is a listener-supported public community radio station. So please, please, please remember that if you like what you hear, visit kpft.org and ensure we remain a strong, viable community radio station that provides news, programming, and information not influenced by whom, Lupita?
The corporatocracy.
The corporatocracy, la corporaciones, and, well, you guys know the rest. Anyhow, anyway, folks, we are going to have a great show for you today. I don't have a blog of the week today because, you know, it's not, I don't want to say it's a show on ranting, but it's a show that our program today that we want to urge you. We want to urge you to demand. We want to urge you to say, this is what's mine. We want to urge you to say, we are going to take what's ours. So give us a call, 713-526-5738, 713-526-5738. Let me tell you how I'm going to do the show for you today. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you my rant, my narrative on Medicare for All. I started it yesterday on the Politics Done Right Daily Show, and I want to finish it up here today. Not necessarily say finish it up, but I want to talk about it. And the reason why I must talk about it. Okay. The reason why is, okay. Really? That's great to know. I am super excited. Who's doing it? You got to write down on that for me who's doing that thing. I'm not going to spill the beans, but it seems that we have some good info. Anyhow, folks, let me tell you something. Let me go with it as follows. We're going to talk Medicare for All in this respect. I think the phone's ringing. I don't know if you got it or not. Yeah. We're going to talk about it in this respect. Right now, everybody right now is trying to tell you that Medicare for All is an impossibility. It's all wrong. You know, this morning I wasn't going to be, at first when I was going to do the show wasn't going to be on Medicare for All today. That wasn't the show today. Let me tell you what the show was going to be about. The show was going to be about slavery. And I don't mean the slavery that we all talk about. I'm talking about all of us right now. Pretty much the tenets of slavery applies to us all. This is not color-based or anything like that. You know, I had a long talk with Dr. Richard Wolf, and we kind of went over that. And I kind of told that story to quite a few people. And, you know, people don't like to hear that. Nobody want to hear, oh, we're a slave. But in effect, when you do the tenets, in fact, I tell you what actually drove me to that conversation. a caller to KPFT right here called and said, hey, in the past, slaves were clothed, they were fed, they were made sure to remain relatively healthy. And now, if you're working for a corporation, they don't want to pay your health care. They don't want to pay anything. And I reminded them, I said, you see, you have to remember that in America, we value property. We value capital more than we value humanity. So even as these people were treated inhumanely, they were capital. And as capital, they were serviced as capital. But that story took the back seat when Daniel Cohen, the president of Indivisible Houston, he posted a message on Facebook that really got me pretty upset. And let me tell you what it was about. It was about, I don't know how many of you read progressive blogs, but I read a lot of progressive. In fact, I write for several progressive blogs. I also am a contributing editor, featured writer at dailycoast.com. That is the largest progressive liberal blog in the country. Okay? But I also read others. I read Think Progress and several Op-Ed News and the Democratic Underground and many of these other sites, right? Because, progressives interchanging and with information, make sure that you're aware of what's going on. Well, what happened? Think Progress was taken over somehow, I believe, by CAP, okay? Center for American Progress, I think is what they're called. And as you know, we believe in unions. We believe in unions. Progressives believe in unions. Well, what did the Center for American Progress, a progressive think tank, do? They got rid of all of their union writers. That's a progressive blog as well, writers. And now they're going to have scabs writing the news. And they're going to be using all the channels that Think Progress created to promote their stuff. So I want to read the letter that they wrote real quickly. On Friday, the Center of American Progress laid off the entire Think Progress newsroom. The Think Progress Union is devastated, but incredibly grateful for the solidarity from the industry. Okay? And progressive alums, thank you. Because of the strength of our union, we are able. Because of the strength of the union, we were able to secure 12 weeks of severance pay and health insurance through the end of the year, the 11th unit member who lost their jobs. Additionally, we were able to secure half of the year-end ad revenues bonus promised in the contract, and we remain in talks to secure the full amount. Okay. Let's see. However, we were blindsided by the revelation that CAP, meaning Center for American Progress, intends to continue operation of the Think Progress site with their own labor and use the Think Progress social media accounts to promote that work. Our editorially independent, unionized, labor-powered, the impactful journalism at Think Progress. To take away our independent voice and use the wide audience built by Think Progress union staff for their purposes is an affront to Think Progress's mission. Let's see. We ask that CAP management keep Think Progress alive as an archive site, but not co-opt its own editorially independent analysis and articles. And it goes on with some other stuff, right? But the whole issue behind all of this, folks, is the following. And, I when Daniel posted it, I don't know if he was sure of this. They don't, the intelligentsia from the Democratic Party does not support Medicare for all. They support something called Medicare for All Extra or something like that, okay? Which is nothing more than an appeasement of the insurance companies and everything else. In other words, it's not the real change that we need in Medicare for all. And what happens then? Think Progress is a blog that really gives information, really informs. So it's there telling people the truth about Medicare for All, the truth about all these other issues. It's there informing people. Center for American Progress, a purported progressive site, decided, in my opinion, and by the way, now I am based this on opinion, I believe that their fear was that as the election moved along, they are trying to temper all these candidates from supporting Medicare for All with the expectation that eventually they'll settle for Medicare for All Extra and fool the people into believing it is a Medicare for All Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren and all those that really support true Medicare for All are wanting or supporting. Folks, it's a scam. It is a scam. But I tell you what, since I have a caller on the line, let me take the caller and I'll take it on from there. But I'd like to do something else with the show today. I'd like folks to call in 713-526-5738 and ask, phones ringing, and ask folks about, ask me the questions that most concern you about Medicare for All. And the reason why, because like I'm saying, they're lying to you about this product. They're lying to you about what we need as Americans for our health care. But anyhow, let me get to line number one. Come on in, line number one. Scott, I think it's you.
Hi. Thank you. Well, actually, it's another issue I'm concerned about. Ted Cruz says that a new Green Deal would cost every family $65,000 a year.
Right.
Is that really true?
Okay, it's possible. Let me qualify a few things
That's
for you.
more than my annual income.
No, let me qualify something for you, okay? Remember how they define these things, right? It could be a lot of money that it's costing when you do it on a per capita basis, meaning on a per person basis. But when you look at it from a societal point of view, it wouldn't be the per person paying it. Let me tell you how they do these calculations, okay? These calculations go as follows. It may turn out that it's from the loss of not mining coal. It may turn out from the loss of not mining uranium. It may turn out from the loss of not mining several products, okay? So do not believe the numbers. I know they came up with that number somehow. And I'm not going to just look at you and tell you from an ignorant point of view, meaning I'm ignorant to that particular study you're looking at. But I'm saying I'm not going to deny that that's a possibility because it all depends on how they do their calculation. The thing about it are twofold. That is not the number the individual American citizen is going to see, first of all. And number two, most importantly, is which one would you rather, have a bill or not exist? Because people who are, the people who are against the Green New Deal are pretty darn selfish, right? We've thrown a whole lot of carbon in the air. We've done all these things. It's like the same people who say, why do we allow India to get away with more carbon than we are? Even, not realizing, first of all, India has a hell of a lot more people. And secondly, most of that carbon in the air came from the Industrial Revolution that they never partook of, that China never partook of. So we have to have some balance in the way we think things out. Go ahead, Scott.
Well, I don't know how he figured it. I don't think he even said what his source of information was.
Right.
I saw it in his posting on Facebook. Oh, and he's been complaining that Facebook and other online media are biased against conservatives.
Oh, that's
and he wants a congressional investigation.
Please do the congressional investigation. They'll get a shock of their life. I'm a very progressive Facebook user, and I tell you, Facebook throttles my stuff. They've killed my AdSense account. They've done a whole lot of stuff to this progressive guy here, so they can't talk about. And by the way, simply for putting out the progressive message, sole purpose. Progressive message. So I don't want to hear that from any of these guys. Anything else you want to add?
Well, I do see you on Facebook, and I don't think I've encountered any problems with Facebook. I think the biggest problem I have is I think a lot of people, my colleagues, would rather talk than listen. I find it a little hard to get my points taken up.
Well, let me tell you, Scott, you always have good points, and don't.
Thank you.
But let me tell you something else, Scott. Before I go to Daniel, I want to tell you this. because you said something that opened the discussion that I want to get to other people. Don't ever sit down and believe that when you create a post, a Facebook message, it's in vain. Because yes, there are a lot of people who do a lot of talking on Facebook, and there are a lot of people who will fight you on Facebook verbally, right?
Yeah.
But do not ever doubt the impact that you have on Facebook or any other social media. Most of the people reading your stuff are not commenting on it, are not saying like to it or anything, but you are planting a seed. So if you're putting sensible messages out there on Facebook, continue to do so. Because,
I do see likes on it, and
right.
Generally same people.
Right. Don't worry about it. You keep putting your message out. We need people out there saturating, not being fearful of being thrown off by the bot. So you do your thing. Thank you so kindly, Scott.
You.
Take care now. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, Daniel, come on in.
My brother, Egberto Willies.
Yes,
How are
sir.
you today,
How are you
sir?
doing today, my friend? President of Indivisible Houston, talk to me.
Well, now I'm off on a tangent thinking about how Facebook's part of the same stupid super business structure that they never want us to criticize, that developed talking points and statistics that Ted Cruz came up with to claim that middle-class teachers are going to be washed out of their entire salary and then some if we pass a Green New Deal so that they have clean air. But that's not really why I called. I called because, as you mentioned before, the throttling of the Think Progress newsroom was nothing more than union busting.
Right.
And I think that we need to call it exactly what it is. It is theft of opportunity of a living wage. It's theft of equity. And these corporate robber barons are stealing people's opportunities to make a living wage, and by extension, in this particular case, are robbing us of our free independent press, robbing us of resources that are not adulterated by the system that really does step on everybody's neck on a daily basis, which is the corporate power structure, and they're feeding into the same narrative that the right has been pushing for years. Don't be mad at big business. Don't be mad at corporations. Be mad at the government for 100% of the things that happen. Now, the government owns some of the problems, usually when they tie hands with this corporate superstructure that screws everything up. That's usually where a lot of the problems come in. But at least we have some level of accountability of the government. We may not be able to determine or vote what the CIA does on a regular basis, but at least we can vote for our electeds or make our voices heard in these other ways, and it can become more accountable through that. The only thing we have to push back on corporations that use loopholes to abuse people in these neighborhoods is occasionally an economic power boycott, which is like leveraging the system against itself, as you were telling Scott to do by continuing to post on Facebook and things like that, or like Boots Riley did with Sorry to Bother You by making a movie that's subversive or something like that. But I just wanted to make the point that these folks, like you said, they profess to be Democrats, they profess to be progressive. But if you are union busting, if you're siding with a corporate mindset that is taking jobs away from people, that is suppressing progressive voices that are criticizing this business structure, you're absolutely part of the problem. And I will remember this. If anybody who's in that structure, if they remember this, if we wind up back in a dark place, if Donald Trump wins again, or if we defeat him with a neoliberal, but we wind up with another Donald Trump down the road, I will be waiting right there, and I will shamelessly point my finger in their direction.
Now,
How
Daniel,
dare they bust unions?
Daniel?
How dare they step on the necks of working families while professing the party platform that they defend them?
Daniel.
They should be absolutely ashamed of themselves. This should be a huge story.
Daniel, let me tell you, yes, it should be a huge story, and it's something that I am going to be blowing up. When you posted that thing, I had to make mention of it. You notice I said it's actually a twofer. It's a twofer. It's a busting of the unions and also taking over what they have built, what Think Progress have built, and then they're going to use Think Progress's channels to indoctrinate them against the policies that they support, which Think Progress was putting out. It was reporting on accurately. Now instead it's going to be an indoctrination channel from a purported progressive think tank that is nothing more than a neoliberal machine that's out there to screw the American people as well.
It's double think, it's double speak. You're absolutely right. It's astroturf, man. The fact that they can peddle those policies as progressive policies, especially after canning their whole newsroom with no negotiation, completely busting the union, kicking collective bargaining in the teeth, refusing to cooperate. I mean, this is part of the problem. This is the centerpiece of the problem. Because people get tired of this stuff, and then they want a strong man.
Right.
And everybody else doesn't want to vote at all.
Hey, Daniel.
I mean, they're at the center of the issue here.
Daniel, here's a problem with what they did also, because it's a narrative, right? If a progressive organization cannot function with a union claiming that it's too expensive, aren't they saying in general that unions are, that we just simply cannot have unions because they don't do what they make doing business too expensive? Isn't that the message that a progressive organization would be stating?
Oh, absolutely. They're joining the same corporate news structure.
There you go.
That's the same thing that we see on a regular basis, where they want to underpay people. They're going to start. Watch, those stories will get more sensational. They'll be driving clicks. There'll be less substance and less content, and more raising eyebrows and more explosions than they ever had before. They're going to be doing it under a double speaking, double thinking, astroturf, ongoing media campaign. They've basically become a PR arm for a corporate power structure. And I would go so far, you notice I never talk about this in concept of the free market, because what we're talking about here is not the free market. What we're talking about is somebody who can grab for as much power as they want, and whatever they're able to get, they're able to get it. And if it keeps you from having food or health or housing or clean air or clean water to drink, too bad. You're not free.
Daniel, I gotta
you will never be free to survive based on the model that they're implementing. Shame on them.
Daniel, let me tell you something. First of all, you keep doing what you're doing. Congratulations on what you're getting done out there with Indivisible Houston. You keep the pressure up. We will all keep the pressure on. It is so important. It is so very important that we put these. Now, these guys for Think Progress, I'm going to be looking for those authors to see what else they have to put out there. But we in the real independent media have got to do our job. And all of you folks out there, you have to be pushing the independent media, because even what's going on is a corporate takeover of, even as you can see, a progressive entity. Think Progress just got taken over in a very sly way by a purported progressive think tank that is nothing more than a neoliberal hack. Thank you so kindly, Daniel.
Thank you, Egberto. Thanks for being a member of the Free and Independent Press, man.
Thank you, brother. Have a good one. Okay, let's go. Línea número 5. Come on in, Heisenberg.
Hey, Egberto.
Talk to me.
Hey, it's Jason, by the way.
Jason, talk to me, my friend.
I just wanted to bring up the whole, I haven't heard much of the show, but I do recall you saying you wanted to hear some thoughts on what we should talk about during this upcoming debate. And
yes, I do.
I think in light of recent events, Bernie Sanders needs to ask Elizabeth Warren, what is she doing with Hillary Clinton?
Mm-hmm.
No, I mean, why is Elizabeth Warren all of a sudden a supposed progressive now courting Hillary Clinton and her supporters and donors? If she's such a progressive, she would have stayed as far away from the losing.
Let me give an answer.
Candidate of 2016 as far away as possible.
Jason, and by the way, Jason, my military brother.
Yes.
Okay, hey, Jason, we got to meet and get some work done.
But I'm waiting on you.
Yes. Here's the thing. Busy week. Debate. I got the notice that I'm going to be at the debate, so I doing some recording at the debates. That's why I'm sort of tied up.
That's excellent.
It's excellent. But let me tell you, I want to answer that, and I want you to listen to me well, because this is not going to be double talk. I don't want to do anything right now to upset the two progressives are on the top of the ticket. Listen to me well before you comment, because I know where you stand. I don't want to do anything to upset the two progressives at the top of that are at the top of the tickets right now. What I want to do is I want to watch, I want to listen, and I want to put our part in. In other words, all these things that you're talking about, what is she doing talking to Hillary? I want that out there in the space also. I can come up with a good reason, okay? My reason would be this is going to be a brokered convention, and what you're trying to do now is rub shoulders with delegates, and she really owns a whole lot of delegates still. Hillary Clinton does, and maybe you kind of shoo me up to her so that you can take the delegates. You have more favor with the delegates than Bernie Sanders would have with the delegates.
We're talking about super delegates, correct?
No, we're talking about delegates, period. Not only super delegates. Delegates, period. Remember, it's two cycles, right? The first cycle, the super delegates don't play a part at all. The second,
exactly, and that's another point that I've been pondering for the last few months. But go ahead.
Statement. Let me finish my statement. And I'm coming to you, Brad, Tori, and Tommy. Let me tell you what I'm trying to say here. So I want to give all these folks leeway, Bernie and Elizabeth leeway. Okay, let them do what they need to do. All right. Because here's the deal, and I don't know if I've expressed this enough to my progressive brothers and sisters, to my Berniacs and everybody else. No matter whether it's, there are some people that are really dogging on Elizabeth right now, and I can understand why they're doing it. And there's some others that want to kind of dog on Bernie. Here's the deal. Whether it's Bernie or Elizabeth that makes it to the final round, okay? No matter what, we the progressive base, you and all the rest of progressives, they are not going to do what you think they're going to do when they get there. It's going to be upon us to make them hold to their word.
Make who hold to their word?
Whichever candidate makes it. Whichever candidates make it. And what if Elizabeth Warren gets it, we're going to get Trump again for another 4 years. Let me tell you something, okay? You don't know that. I don't know that. I don't read tea leaves. I can't do that. All I'm saying, Jason, is this, my brother, okay? I know you're a strong Bernie supporter. You better go out there and fight your butt off and do your work. And it's not about Elizabeth. It's about Bernie in your case. For those who are Elizabeth supporters, you go ahead and you do the same. And then when it's time to narrow the thing down, listen to me well. When it's time to narrow the thing down, then you go ahead. Right now, I'm not going to, I'm a past Berniac. I'm a delegate for Bernie. I was taking off my hat, my host hat. I'm a delegate for Bernie. But as a radio show host, I'm completely neutral into this particular issue. Go ahead and make your second point so I can go to the other caller.
That's fine. But what I'm pointing out is Barack Obama did the same exact thing in 2008.
Yes.
Ran a completely progressive campaign, and then as soon as he got sworn in, got that list from Citibank.
Everybody does that. Don't just say Obama. Everybody does
Hillary
it.
didn't run a progressive campaign.
Hillary Clinton. Wait a minute. Hillary Clinton. Come on. I was in Philly. Hillary Clinton ran on Bernie's platform underneath. Okay, I was there when the platform was written. So I'm telling you, Hillary Clinton ran on a progressive platform. Now she didn't. And not only that, Hillary Clinton also won. She just lost by 80,000 votes in the wrong places. So I don't want us to kind of think, oh, somehow we can't win. A progressive message wins. Okay. Period. The important
Hillary
thing
Clinton message lost, and honestly, I really do think Donald Trump is a ploy. He is literally, figuratively, whatever you want to call it, destroying the Republican Party within.
Hey.
The only cabinet member he has not fired yet is Mike Pence.
Hey, listen,
Now
buddy.
you got all these senators and governors. They are knee-deep in Trump crap.
I have some conspiracy theories that I've thought about with Trump that I don't put on air just because until I have more information.
No worries. I'm just pointing out obvious things.
I got you. Hey, Jason, look, we'll talk later. I want to we have a specific issue we need to do an interview on, brother, okay?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You have a good one, and thank you so kindly for listening, sir. All right, let's go to Tori. Tori, numero 3. Come on in, Tori.
Okay, take you off the speakerphone here. Wow, I usually don't have a question for you. I usually just call in to say, something. But, this is a real question today. And so I'm listening to Buttigieg and listening to Bernie about Medicare for all. And it seems to be like they're talking about Bernie saying like, oh, we're going to get rid of all the insurance companies, and Buttigieg saying, oh no, we'll have Medicare for all, but it'll be an option, and then the people can choose. I don't understand how you can't just put these companies out of business. I mean, all these insurance companies, they're incorporated at the state level, so I mean they're still going to be offering their
Let me tell you. Let me explain.
I mean, it's just a matter of like people are going to choose to get something else. I mean, I don't see how Bernie could possibly just say, "Okay, you guys are out of business now."
No, that's not. You said that would be, I mean, and that is the issue with narratives, right? That is the issue with how you put out your narrative, and that is a dangerous part
it seems
about
like they're trying to contrast each other.
Right. Let me explain. Let me explain about the law, what was written. Okay. First of all, naturally speaking, it's not that they put these guys out of business. It's the following. When we provide the basic level of service for healthcare in the country, private insurance companies cannot compete on that level. In other words, if we're going to give you x-rays for this and that and so forth, private insurance companies cannot compete there. In other words, they don't allow the private insurance company to come and say, okay, I'm going to offer you a service that gives you this service or that service or whatever, just like it is in other places. And
so why isn't Bernie clear on that? I mean, he's not coming off like that.
Let me explain. I get it.
Or reporters, when they come and say, oh, you're going to put him out of business, and I'm an alternative, Buttigieg an alternative. He's not an alternative. It's the same plan.
And Tori, that is my point, right? And that is the reason I think Elizabeth has a chance of being the progressive candidate. A lot of my guys, Tim Black, another progressive host, they hate me for saying things like this, right? But the truth of the matter is what Elizabeth Warren has the ability to do is explain it in an easy to understand manner, that it's not like, bam, we're going to throw these guys out of business or what. No, these guys won't be able to compete in these markets, but they can go write whatever policy they want. And if somebody wants to go ahead and buy a policy that covers petals on your bed, go buy on your hospital bed, go buy petals covered on your hospital bed. They'll be there to cover whatever the basic health care doesn't cover. Okay.
Well, it just seems disingenuous on Buttigieg's part, and it seems like Bernie isn't, defending his space by not, coming out and being clear on this.
Yes, let me tell, and that is the reason. I've been talking to my Bernie brothers and sisters, my Berniacs, and it's like, he's in a repetitive start of his. I wrote an article at Daily Kos where I said Bernie is going to have to meet up, MEAT meet up, because the message that he's putting out there right now with a lot of Democrats, and I'm talking a lot of Bernie Democrats, it's really throwing them for a loop. And it's throwing them for a loop not because it's bad what he's saying, but because they don't see the path from here to there. Elizabeth Warren,
great that Bernie, he's ahead. He's not fucking down. He's not punching down to people like Buttigieg. But Buttigieg is punching up, and he's doing it disingenuous. He's not doing it against Trump. He's doing it against Bernie. He's making, selfish points for himself by, trying to do something that's, it seems to me disingenuous.
But look, and that's where Elizabeth comes in. Look at Elizabeth's narrative. That's all I'm going to say. People like to say it's cheesy, and they like, Tim Black, my friend, said, she's disingenuous and all of that. And I don't think that it is that she's disingenuous. I think what it is that she's a hell of an explainer, and she knows. In other words, let me give an example. Bernie Sanders is happy to say, I'm a democratic socialist. And then describes what you want to say, right? Elizabeth Warren says, I'm a capitalist. Then she adds all the addendums to capitalism that she wants to make. And after you add all those addendums into what it means, guess what you get? Guess what comes out of that equation?
What?
Democratic what? See, that's my point.
Yeah, well, it's like good cop, bad cop. It's like if you don't like socialism, vote for Elizabeth Warren. If you don't like capitalism, vote for Bernie. But you wind up with the same socialist policies for the most part. And basically redistribution of wealth, how I define socialism.
Well, you know what? The thing about it is, people like to look at socialism and call it the government takes over all the sources of production and all that good stuff. We are not talking about stuff like that. We're talking
that's
about
grandpa socialism.
There you go.
Socialism is a mixed economy. That's the modern definition.
Thank you. Right now, we have socialism in America. It's just that socialism goes to corporations. That's what we have in America. We have a corporate socialist state. What we want is a social state. It's a difference.
Oh, yeah. That's a redistribution from the bottom up.
Right.
I mean, that's how we get all these 1%ers, right?
Right.
But, put it in reverse.
Anyway, Tori, you're breaking up. Anything else you want to say real quickly, my brother?
That's it. Have a good show.
Thank you, sir. You have a good one, man. Have a good one.
All right, cheers.
Bye-bye. Bye. Okay, let's go to Brad. Come on in, Brad, and then Tommy, you're next. Brad, talk to me.
Hey, Egberto, I talked to you last week.
Yes. Which one?
And you told me to do some research on the healthcare industry. And
yes.
Well, be careful what you wish for.
Okay.
Because it might come true, okay?
Go ahead. Talk to me.
All right? And I've never on your show ever said I'm against single payer.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying that it's going to cost a lot more than you claim it's going to cost.
Okay. Can I answer that real quickly before you?
Perfect example would be, since it's government, today, and this is a story. Are you there?
Yeah, go ahead.
This is a true story. I was at Fiesta at the meat market, and some guy came up to me and asked me if I wanted to buy some food stamps for half price. And I said, I work. And he kept pushing. No, I work.
Right.
See, that's a government thing.
Right.
Okay?
Yes.
It's a freebie.
It's a thief. He's a thief.
He is a thief. And,
yes.
And this is a problem because according to Vox.com on September 2nd, 2014, Americans pay more in health care because of higher drug prices. Hospitals throw more technology and tests to the patients.
Yes.
Because someone else is going to pay for it.
Yes.
And they pay and here's the key. They pay doctors when they provide lots of health care.
Yes.
Not good health care, because doctors get paid regardless of a patient's outcome.
Absolutely.
Okay, but here's the thing. You keep saying that private insurance companies have 20% overhead.
Yes, sir.
Okay, who do you think said this? Private insurance companies in this country spend between 12 and 18% on administration costs. Who do you think said that?
Who said that? I said
that. Bernie Sanders.
Yeah.
Not anywhere close to 20%.
Oh,
okay?
no. Let's qualify that.
The Annuals of Internal Medicine said that average insurance costs are overhead are 12.4%. I have other ones that say 12.3%. It's not anywhere the 20% that you said.
That's not true, and let me explain.
It is true. I saw it on PolitiFact.
Could you let me explain now? First of all, PolitiFact is not an accurate thing anymore because it's not politicized. But let me go ahead and tell you about the other costs that I'm talking about, right? Remember what they call overhead costs. The overhead costs that I talk about is costs not going towards medical care. The overhead for Medicare, Medicaid, and all the rest is 3% maximum, more on the order of 1 to 2%. Okay? Now, when we're talking about health care through insurance companies, let me give you all the pieces that you don't see in that overhead, right? When the health care company pays a doctor, they go ahead and they call that, or pays a doctor, all the functions that insurance company does, they call that the expense. There's an expense that they're forgetting about. And the expense that they don't include in there is whenever let's say I own a practice, right? And I have to hire people to go ahead and work with the different insurance companies. Those costs are gone. So I can enumerate cost over cost that doesn't come in. Again, what a lot of people try to do when they're talking about, what's the overhead? They look at the structure of the insurance company and say, okay, that insurance company paid out, let's say, 80%. Actually, that's what Obamacare says. Obamacare says an insurance company must pay out 80% of what it takes in. So what does that tell you? If the Obamacare says you pay out 80%, what does it tell you?
That's what's called a non-group market. It's not small group market.
Right. No. Let me tell you what.
And large group markets, 11%.
Let me explain. Let me finish, because the payout that these companies are required to make is 80%. Okay? Now, in the process of, or just under 80%, I don't remember the exact number. Call me for whatever that number is. What that means is that is exactly what they're going to meet because they'll make the rest profit. But I am saying, beyond that, above that, the efficiency of not having many insurance companies that you are required to get payment from means you hire less people to do that work. And those are costs that you're not seeing within your PolitiFact cost, and I mean the PolitiFact test and all the others. So what I'm saying is, my statement remains the same, absolute. In other words, math prevails. Math prevails. You cannot ask a company, in other words, if you assume that everybody in the United States through some mechanism is going to get health care. Think about what I'm saying here. This is very important. If you assume everybody in the United States somehow is going to get health care, then if you have an insurance company as a middleman, it will cost more. Irrespective of anything that you can possibly say, it is just basic math. And I'd like you to refute that if you can.
You completely accept. The problem is Medicare is what's called passive at processing claims, which means they don't go after fraud. Their attitude is, well, what the heck? We're not paying for it.
Stop.
The reality
That's
is
not true.
Private insurance companies do spend more on overhead, but they save money on other costs.
Okay, unless you are going to tell me that the fraud within the system exceeds 15, 16, 17, 18%, then even if there's some fraud, it is still less expensive. But I'm saying that the fraud isn't even going to be that, or not even that. I'm saying, what makes you believe? What always gets to me, right, is why people believe that somehow the private sector is more efficient at finding fraud than the public sector. When the thing about it is, you can have fraud in either side. The private sector, I would proffer, has more fraud. Let me give you the frauds. The fraud is in what you're paying for your medicines right now. The fraud is in what you're paying for your surgical, what you're paying when you go to the hospital. That is fraud. It's just legalized fraud. Okay, so what I'm trying to tell people and get people to understand, it's simple. It's a simple math problem, and it doesn't only cover insurance. It also covers who develop drugs. Did you know that most drugs start out at some university that we invest in with our tax dollars, and when it's about to turn into a product?
But do you also know? What my father said, because he was on Medicare or Medicaid.
Sure, go ahead. Tell me what your father said.
He was getting sick and all that stuff. He said even the good doctors do bad stuff. That's how bad the system is.
I am not denying that.
People are going to be sick
and
for
your dad is right.
certain time period because they're sucking at the government's trough.
But you know what? You're saying they're sucking up the money from the government, the same thing the private sector is doing. When they sell
But after a while, the private sector says no. The government doesn't
no. The private
nearly as much.
Sir, the private sector says no to the persons who don't have pricing power. You. In other words, think about this. The private sector tells you no, but they make their money no matter what. But they tell you no. I'm trying to reframe people's minds, my brother, because right now we give corporations such latitude to do evil against us. And then we say, they're the masters, right? They're the masters. They're the strong man. I'm trying to reframe your mind. I'm trying to tell you the difference between a corporation and government is that government is we the people. And when they do wrong, we can actually form organizations to say do right because we can vote them out.
How come healthcare, of all the insurance that you have, mortgage, property insurance, life insurance, auto insurance, how come healthcare insurance has the smallest profit margin?
Because it's so big. Because it doesn't, it's huge. But let me qualify that. That is not a true statement. Let me tell you why that is not a true statement. Let's say I'm an insurance company, right? And I buy Bayer aspirin at $10 a pop, right? That $10 look to that insurance company as an expense. But to that drug company, it's a pilfer. Okay, so what I'm saying is you have to be careful as of how expenses and profits are tallied, Because what you find is one of the most profitable businesses is drugs. One of the most profitable businesses is healthcare. Period. Put it this way: if it weren't this, if these businesses weren't internally so very profitable, they wouldn't be fighting so hard.
You're absolutely right.
It.
Yahoo Business said that the healthcare sector has a 15.4% profit margin.
There you go.
But health insurance companies have a 3.2%
There you go.
profit.
That's my point.
But I agree.
My
Oh,
friend.
one more thing. Final thing.
Yes, sir.
How are you going to stop the legal fraud? Let me give you a perfect example.
Yes, sir.
Have you been to the hospital?
Yes, sir.
And you know that the nurses or physician assistants, I think they're the nurses,
Yeah.
they will give you the pills in that little
Yes.
cardboard thing.
Yes.
I think those things might even cost private companies like, what, $1 each? I can get a whole stack free of charge at McDonald's because they're the same exact thing where
Yes,
you put
sir.
the ketchup in. The same exact
Brad,
thing.
here's a solution, Brad. Brad, here's a solution. What are you doing right now?
Me?
You're engaging right
talking
now.
to you.
You're talking to me. And there are thousands of people that are hearing you right now. And when I look at the thousands of people that are listening to our conversation, I look and I say, folks, and that is where we activate, and that is where we do something. We have to get off of our butts and be proactive in getting things done. The reason I made this the passion of my life going forward is exactly for that. To tell us, let's activate ourselves. We don't need a corporation to be our masters. We don't need the rich to be our masters. We are our own masters, and we are going to do it. Thank you so kindly, Brad, for calling.
If you can figure out how to get rid of majority of the fraud,
brother,
I'll
we
be
will.
on board.
No. It's not if. No, hold on, Brad. It's not if I can do anything. It's when we do something. All right, brother.
All right. You have yourself a pleasant day.
You too, sir. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, let's go to, let's see, Tommy, line 1. Come on in, Tommy.
Hey, comrade, what's up?
All right. You made my day, brother. You made my day. Talk to me, man.
I know I know you know this. Let me quickly just address your audience.
Yes,
Audience,
sir.
I don't really pay attention to politics. Politics is seasonal to me. Egberto, you heard my show on
I
Party103radio.com.
love your show. You know I
Shout
love
out to
your
Amanda
show.
Boo Johnson. Anyway, one thing that this Brad guy just talked about, that was so old school. My sister-in-law used to sell us, well, she didn't sell the food stamps because they had the card, but we would give her, and I didn't partake. But yeah, that went on. I grew up in Denver Harbor, so that went on very often.
Yes.
Like, people would do that. They would sell their Lone Star card
Right.
and let people go and get groceries. That was so wrong. Anyway, going off of that, one of your earlier callers, I forgot his name because I was on hold for like an hour. Anyway, he mentioned like not to hate corporations, which I don't.
Yeah.
But then he then went on to display this disdain for the government, right?
Yeah.
So my question to you is, this Medicare for All thing. By the way, congrats on your credentials for the debate.
Well, thank you, brother. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. The Medicare for All, doesn't that mean that you're cutting out choice? And I don't know if somebody touched on it, but
No, not at all. Not at all. Let me.
my point is, at the same time, you can have this disdain for the government, but yet you have enough trust for the government to run healthcare.
Okay, two things. I got to go to Johnny.
I just thought that.
Hey, Tommy, let me answer you. Tommy.
One more point. Doesn't competition breed success?
Yes, sir.
So,
I agree with you on everything that you said.
Tommy,
I've agreed with everything that you said, but let me qualify it for you, okay? This guy didn't show disdain for government. He showed disdain for bought government, for purchased government. That's number one. Number two, as far as Medicare for All is concerned, when you talk about choices, shouldn't the people have choices? Yes, Medicare for All is giving them more choices than their private insurance. Right now, you get private insurance. They tell you can go to see doctor number 1, doctor number 2, doctor number 3. You can't go to doctor number 4. Right now, when you go into see a doctor, you say, please, do you take my insurance? And you ask them if they take your insurance, which means there is a private company that's telling you who you can see and what drugs you can take. On the Medicare for All, you can go to any available doctor, period. You have your choice of choosing your private doctor, your private hospital, etc., 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 supply and demand. So that is the answer to that question. Secondly, when you're talking, yeah, go ahead, real quick. I gotta go.
Didn't Obamacare promise all that stuff, and then it turned out not to be true?
No.
Like I said, I don't really pay
No, it did not.
Politics,
It never promised that. It promised to be built on top of the private insurance system. That's what it promised. It promised to be built, and it said if you want to keep your doctor, you can. What they should have said, if you want to keep your doctor and your doctor also wanted to keep you, That is the part that he missed. It should have been, if you want to keep your doctor and your doctor wants to keep you, then it's all okay. But anyway, brother, thank you so kindly for calling, okay?
Hey, real quick, you can find my show, Tommy Cruz, Party103radio.com.
All right.
Thank you very much.
You got your plug in. Actually,
Hey,
folks, it's a good show. Have a good one, brother. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Take care. All right, let's go. Come on in. Johnny, talk to me.
Yeah, two quick things. Number one, for people who like to do gotchas, they think they're doing gotchas with you when they try to talk about how we can criticize government performing certain things while at the same time defending their ability to carry out Medicare for all. Here's a simple thing. It's not government per se that's the problem. It's when government is run by Republicans.
Right.
For example, Bernie's socialism did not poison the drinking water for 99,000 Americans in Flint, Michigan, and several other 100 cities in this country. That was GOP austerity made possible by Wild West, unfettered, underregulated capitalism.
Yes. Johnny, let me tell you something. Here's the deal, Johnny. I love the gotchas. The gotchas are so important, and the reason they are important, Johnny, is because those gotchas are what other people that are listening to us are asking themselves, right? So we get, but there are many don't want to call in. So what we do is we want the gotchas to come so that we can answer it, so that person that never hits a like, you remember when Scott talked about people doing more talking on the internet, and I said, no, Scott, people are doing more listening on the internet. You just don't know about it. So that when you answer the gotchas, that's why it is so important if you have knowledge, my brothers and sisters around the state, around the country, if you have information, positive information to throw on Facebook and Twitter and all these things, put it out there. Don't sit down wondering if anybody saw it. You know what? People saw it. Okay? It doesn't matter if there's a like on it or not. People are going to see your stuff. You have positive information, learned information, know information. Put it out there. We need it in the space because you are the ones that make a difference. Close me out, Johnny.
Number 2 of 2. When Brad, I believe it was, who was telling you, well, if you can, in other words, if he's making his acceptance of Medicare for all conditional on the presumption that if we eliminate or reduce substantially fraud, that fraud exists right now, and it exists more easily because we don't have Medicare for all.
Johnny, let me tell you something. First of all, I got to go. Thank you so kindly for your call. Brad is a nice guy. Brad understands, and what I'm trying to promote into people's psyche is that we do have the power and that we can actually do these things, but we have to do it. It's not going to be somebody doing it for us. Got to go, Johnny.
Remember to remind him next time he calls you, remind him that the fraud committed, a lot of it is by the people who
are Johnny.
The deciders of the...
Got to go.
Who gets health care and who gets denied.
Folks, this is Politics Done Right. My name is Egberto Willies, and guess what? You know how I close this baby? I am what, Lupita? I am very much out.
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is the progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. Remember, you can also send me a tweet to EGBERTOWILLIES. That is, at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right.
1, 2, 3, 4.